Okay, this is our daily study of Mishnah in honor of those who have yard site for tonight. But tonight and tomorrow night, we won't be studying Pirkei Avot for the simple reason that starting tonight is Tisha B'Av, the saddest day of the Jewish year, the day on which both Jewish temples in Jerusalem were destroyed hundreds of years apart on the same date, as we'll soon get to. And interestingly, one of the prohibitions of Tisha B'Av is studying Torah, a little bit counterintuitive. You're not allowed to study Torah, it's prohibited because Torah brings joy. And it's the saddest day of the year, it's a day of mourning. So it's actually a beautiful perspective it shows that Jews have about Torah. You know, it's so joyous that we don't want to bring joy into this day of mourning too much. But you are permitted to, because Jew always has to be studying Torah, so you are permitted to study Torah, which is directly relevant to Tisha B'Av. So we'll look at two Mishnahs today and tomorrow from Tractate Taanit, which the Tractate of Talmud, which is about fast days, and speak about Tisha B'Av. So those who have the art site for tonight, the ninth of Av, Thelma Edelman, Jeanette Aronson, Libby Bettinger, Leo Schild, Sam Schultz, Dorothy Schulzinger, Jenny Siegel, Samuel Weinberg, Samuel Weinschelbaum, Benjamin Weiner, and Sarah Weiner. May their memory be for a blessing. We will have a link to the text in the Mishnah in the first comment below. Sorry, I'm just trying to look at something over here. And I have one Hebrew name that for Dorothy Schulzinger, Devorah Bat Mordechai, who we will include. Okay, so the Mishnah in Taanit says, Chamisha Dvarim Iru et Avosenu b'Shivasar b'Tammuz. 5 tragic events befell our ancestors on the 17th of Tammuz, the Chamisha b'Tisha B'Av, and 5 on Tisha B'Av. Okay, so Tisha B'Av is the culmination of 3 weeks of national mourning. Begins with the 17th of Tammuz, on which the Romans broke the walls of Jerusalem, and then 3 weeks later, on the 9th of Av, they destroyed the temple. But we're going to see that 4 other tragic things happened on the 17th of Av, and 4 other tragic things happened on the 17th of Tammuz, and 4 other tragic things happened on Tisha B'Av. So, but that's what connects Shivasar B'Tammuz to Tisha B'Av is the Roman period, but we'll see how it all plays out. Okay, B'Shivasar B'Tammuz, what happened on the 17th of Tammuz, which we observed 3 weeks ago? Nishtabru haluchot, Moses broke the tablets. So, if you do the math, the fast day of 17 Tammuz is 40 days after Shavuos. Well, Shavuos is the date on which we receive the Torah. And then Moshe spends 40 days and 40 nights on the mountain. He comes down studying that Torah. He comes down from the mountain, sees the people worshiping the golden calf. They ruin the covenant in only 40 days, and he smashes the tablets. God tells him to carve out 2 more tablets. He comes down with those on Yom Kippur, which is why Yom Kippur is the day of forgiveness and atonement. But the 17th of Tammuz, that's the first sad thing that happened on it. Moshe smashes the tablets. Uvatel hatamid, and the daily offering was discontinued. So this means according to one opinion, which I favor, this means, which I think makes the most sense, in the Roman period, when, remember, you said the Romans broke through the walls of Jerusalem. Well, also on the 17th of Tammuz, they had already been besieging the city. Nothing was coming in and out. There weren't enough animals coming in for the temple for the offering, and there's a daily offering that's brought in the morning and in the afternoon every single day, and the daily offering stopped. So basically, the temple was the daily operations of the temple already discontinued 3 weeks before it was destroyed. Sort of a prelude or a scary, an ominous foreshadowing. Okay, the Huvka Ha'ir, and the walls of the city were breached. That's by the Romans. The Saraf Apustamus es HaTorah. Now we're jumping around timelines a little bit, but centuries before, on the same date, during the Greek occupation of the land of Israel, a wicked general named Apostamus publicly burned a Torah scroll, Vehemid Selam Behechal, and he also placed an idol in the temple. So that was during the Greek rule, but on the 17th of Tammuz. So that counts as 2 things. Numbers 4 and 5, he burned a Torah, he placed an idol in the sanctuary. That's why 17 Tammuz is a fast day, but it's a minor fast day compared to Tisha B'Av, which is more major, as we'll see. On Tisha B'Av, the following 5 tragedies occurred. Nigzar al avosenu shalo yikansu la'aretz. The first one's from the Torah itself. It was decreed upon our ancestors that they would not enter the land of Israel. That refers to the sin of the spies. Moses sends 12 spies to scout out the land. They were supposed to go to Israel right away. 10 of them come back with a bad report. Only Joshua and Caleb give a good report, but the nation at large accepts the bad report, or at least the men do. The women were more optimistic, interestingly enough. But it was decreed that all men who were above the age of 20 at the time, and that's considered to be full adulthood, were going to die before reaching the land of Israel, die before reaching 60 years old. So one of the themes of Tisha B'Av is losing our sovereignty over the land of Israel and losing out on Israel and the temple, as we'll see. So it's established the sin of the spies is the ninth of Av. The Charav Habayis Barishona Uvashnia, the first and second temple were destroyed. So the first temple is destroyed by the Babylonians in 586 BCE by the wicked king Nebuchadnezzar, who Saddam Hussein actually revered as a hero, because Iraq is in modern day Babylon. Modern day Iraq is in the place of ancient Babylon. So Nebuchadnezzar destroyed our temple in 586 before the Common Era. Then the Romans destroyed the more recent temple in 70 of the Common Era. So centuries apart, but the same date. And that speaks to the fact that in Jewish thought is mystical and religious thought, a date is not only either a holiday or a fast day because something happens to have happened on that date circumstantially that was bad. We see the date is imbued with this cosmic sense of destiny, of ominous destiny. Tisha B'Av is destined to be a bad day. There's a happy ending because the tradition is that when Mashiach comes, when the Messiah comes, Tisha B'Av will be transformed into a Yom Tov. It'll be a festive day. We'll get to that again at the end. Okay, so both temples destroyed on the same date. Then what else happened? Vinilkada Beitar, the city of Beitar was conquered. So that speaks to the Bar Kokhba revolution. So this is 65 years after the temple was destroyed, the final stand that the Jews had. The story wasn't over yet. They destroyed the temple, but we had one last rebellion against the Romans in 132 to 135 of the Common Era. And the leader was Simon Bar Kokhba, and he actually achieved independence, and you can see coins in the Israel Museum in Israel. Year 1 to the liberation of Jerusalem, year 2 to the liberation. It only lasted 3 years, sadly, and then it was brutally crushed. And the rebellion was centered in the city of Beitar, which was massacred. And that was the last stand for attempt at Jewish sovereignty in Israel. Now there's a popular soccer team, Beitar Yerushalayim, Jerusalem soccer team is called Beitar, named after this city. And they tend to be a very militant right-wing fan base. So V'nechra Shaha'ir. And then finally, the fifth tragic thing that happened on Tisha B'Av is the Romans plowed over the city of Jerusalem it's not only had it been destroyed and the rebellion was put down, but the Romans plowed over the site of the Temple Mount in Jerusalem to make sure nothing could be built on top of it, adding insult to injury. Okay, and then the last line of this Mishnah, Mishnichnas Av Mimatin B'Simcha. Therefore, when the month of Av begins, we curtail our joy. So this is called the 9 days. Tisha B'Av means the 9th of Av, but starting on Rosh Chodesh Av, on the 1st of Av, we already curtail our joy in certain ways. And one of those ways is the custom is not to eat meat or drink wine, except for on Shabbos, which is an exception. Shabbos is always happy. But during the week, during those 9 days, because meat and wine bring joy, okay, not to have weddings, not to have parties. All right, well, we'll get to a little bit more of that tomorrow. But you could see that the modern state of Israel is sort of thank God, the beginning of a reversal of this trend of losing our sovereignty in Israel, which religiously we believe will culminate in the rebuilding of the temple. But that's why we say that the state of Israel is Reshit Smichat Gulatenu, the beginning of the flowering of our redemption. We still observe Tisha B'Av because we're not at the end of the redemption yet, the Messianic age and the end of all war. But we do see in the state of Israel a sort of seed of hope of turning around that exile and alienation from Zion of the Jewish people. Okay, this statement, when Av begins, we curtail our joy, by the way, is corresponding statement, Mishnichnas Adar Marbim B'Simcha. When the month of Adar comes in, which has Purim, which is sort of our most festive holiday where we dress up in costumes and drink wine, we increase our joy. So Jews, we're always thinking of, we usually focus more on joy, but we do have some sad days. Okay, now interestingly enough, so we don't say the Malay, the El sad memorial prayer. This is the dichotomy of Tisha B'Av, because we don't say sad prayers on Tisha B'Av because it's also a holiday, because it bears with it the hope that in the future, when the Messiah comes, it will become a holiday. So that's the beauty of Tisha B'Av. It's not all sad. We do have a little bit of hope by not saying the sad prayer Malay on it. So instead, we say the prayer following the study of Mishnah. Okay. Once again, I have one Hebrew name that I'll include in the Hebrew version. Ana Adonai Malay Rachmim Asher B'Yadcha Nefesh Kol Chai V'Ruach Kol Basar Ish Yena L'Ratzon L'Fanecha Torasenu Tfilasenu Ba'avor Nishmas Devara Bas Mordechai V'Yas Kol HaSkaros Shel HaLayla U'Gemolna Im Behem B'Chaster HaGadol Yiftach Lahem Shari Rachmim V'Chesed V'Shari Gan Eden U'Skabel Osam Ba'avo V'Chivo Shlach Lahem Malachecha HaKadoshim HaTahorim Lo'Licham L'Shivim Tachas Eitz L'Chaim Eitzel Nishmos HaTzadikim HaTzidkanios Chasidim V'Chasidos Lehanos Miziv Shchinascha La'asviyah Mituvcha Tzafim HaTzadikim V'aguf Yanuach B'Kever B'Menucha Nechana B'Chedva V'Simcha V'Shalom K'Diksiv Yavo Shalom Yanuch Al Mishkavosam Holech Nechochel Uksiv Yalzu Chasidim B'Chavod Yiran Al Mishkavosam Uksiv Yim Tishkav Lo Sifchad V'Shachavta V'Arba Shnasecha. And in English, please, O Hashem, full of mercy, for in your hand is the soul of all the living and the spirit of every human being. May you find favor in our Torah study and prayer for the souls of Devorah Bas Mordechai, as well as the souls of Thelma Edelman, Jeanette Aronson, Libby Bettinger, Leo Schild, Sam Schultz, Dorothy Schulzinger, Jenny Siegel, Samuel Weinberg, Samuel Weinschelbaum, Benjamin Weiner, and Sarah Weiner, in whose memory we study and pray. Accept them with love and affection, and send them your holy and pure angels to lead to settle under the tree of life, near the souls of the righteous and devout, to enjoy the radiance of your presence, to satiate them from your good that is concealed for the righteous. May their body repose in the grave with proper contentment, pleasure, gladness, and peace. As it is written, let him enter in peace, let them rest on their beds, everyone who has lived in his proper way. As it is written, let the devout exult in glory, let them sing joyously upon their beds. And as it is written, if you lay down, you will not fear. When you lay down, your sleep will be sweet. Amen.